Yeah, why I just left my doctor getting my checkup. So they come in the room, two doctors come in the room, thinking they got some bad news to tell me. They gonna tell me I got real high cholesterol. They tell me we was so shocked, you so young and your cholesterol is very high. They tell me I gotta go on a diet and I can't eat fried food. They tell me to bake chicken, canned food. As soon as I left my doctor's appointment, guess what I'm at? I'm at Raising Cane. To get me a chicken finger 4-box combo with me a lemonade. My name is Brianna. Yes. The K sauce in there? Yeah, the extra sauce. Okay, my extra seasoning, thank you. Let me part. I gotta have a bite of a chicken right now. Starving. Chico my meal. Can't eat fried. Who? I'm ready to put one of these tenders in my mouth. Mouth been watering for this. I'm a ever. Mm-mm-mm. So hot, fresh, and good. I love me some Raising Cane's, bro. But you guys think they ate.
And that is the problem with young adults. I'm assuming she's a young adult. She seems like a young adult, but her demeanor could mean that she's much younger than that. Here's the thing. What we're looking at is a food addict, because if you notice the language that she uses after getting this news from her doctor that she has high cholesterol, extremely high cholesterol. It took two doctors to go in there to give her the results of her blood work. And she's taking it like it's a joke. And not only that, but she's defiant about it to the point where she's running directly from that doctor's appointment straight to the place that is giving her, most likely, giving her high cholesterol. It's the garbage food that people are addicted to. And she probably doesn't even know it. But her reaction to the food, to the anticipation of that quote unquote food, is a chemical response. So she knows that it's going to be a dopamine hit for her brain. And that is what she's going on. At this point, it's questionable as to whether or not she actually likes the food, or that the addiction to the chemicals in that food is causing her to want them beyond even looking out for her own health. I'm Rosemarie Havsom, and I'm back again to help you take full control of your life by what you choose to put at the end of your fork. So let's get into it. It's not just about fast food. It's about the fact that this next generation that is coming up will have a shorter lifespan than their parents and grandparents. And it's all directly related to food and other lifestyle habits that are preventable and changeable. But unfortunately, for a lot of these young people and a lot of these kids, they don't have the ability to resist these foods and these components that keep them slaves to their taste buds, because their taste buds have been manipulated by chemicals. And that is what we're seeing. It's now an addiction, and it's also a compulsion. Because here's the thing that you need to know about high cholesterol. High cholesterol can lead to stroke, heart attack, and all other kinds of issues regarding cardiovascular disease. Now, there's two types of high cholesterol. One is HDL, which is high density lipoproteins. That's considered to be the good cholesterol. Your brain needs cholesterol because it's more than 60% cholesterol, and it requires the right kind of cholesterol to function. Without it, low fat, and that's why low fat diets are very suspicious, because they can lead to dementia and Alzheimer's. So when we see that there's an explosion of Alzheimer's and dementia, we have to look at the diet. Were they eating a very low fat diet? and high carbohydrate diet, because carbohydrates then turn into sugar and that attacks the brain. It makes the brain sluggish.
A common misconception about cholesterol might be putting children's health in jeopardy.
As Gilma Avalos reports tonight, even active kids who eat well could be at risk.
The Rana family doesn't take health for granted. At only 30 years old, Prem had a near-fatal heart attack.
It was devastating. You don't think that it's going to come to you.
Since her husband's big health scare, they've been keeping an eye on his cholesterol levels and on his. Because of Dad's health history, Arnav's doctor suggested a cholesterol screening at age 8.
His numbers were skyrocketing. My first instinct was, no, it's got to be some error in the lab. Can we do it again?
It was no mistake. According to the CDC, about 1 in 15 kids in the U.S. has high cholesterol.
It's a huge number, which I think really is always surprising to people.
With this young woman, the problem that she was looking at is LDL cholesterol, which is low density lipoproteins. That is the one that clogs arteries and affects the brain. HDL is what feeds the brain and also helps with weight loss and weight maintenance and thinking, cognitive health.
In order to prevent stroke, we tend to say that 80% of strokes can be prevented by managing risk factors. And so that should really start early in life. And that includes healthy diet, exercise, not smoking. If you know that you have a family history of high cholesterol, stroke, heart disease, you want to get these things tested early so that you can make sure you're either on the right diet or the right medications to prevent high cholesterol or diabetes. And the earlier you manage these risk factors, the less likely you are to have a stroke. I always say that if everyone managed their risk factors from an early age, stroke would be a much less prevalent disease in the U.S. and the world.
So for her to have low density lipoprotein, which is my guess because I'm not a doctor and I am also not presenting medical advice for her or anybody in her position. But as a certified holistic nutritionist, I am aware of the fact that LDL cholesterol is very dangerous. And if she does not look out for it from now and start to reverse that, then the effects are going to be devastating, because stroke doesn't care how old you are. It just cares about how old or stiff your arteries are from plaque built up from high cholesterol. Dementia doesn't care how old you are. It's whether or not the brain is getting the right kind of blood flow. So these are very concerning things. And it's also interesting too that she ends up at the very place that's contributing to her poor health, and that place is benefiting from that, because the owner of that particular fast food restaurant is worth over $22 billion after starting that restaurant, Raising Cane's, in 1996. So it's incredible to see how money just generates a lot of things that are terrible for people and for your health. And this is one example. We are going to be burying children and grandchildren, the next generation, before their time at younger and younger ages, because they are not healthy, because they're not eating healthy food. This is a problem. And we need to do whatever we can to encourage and instruct our young people and our children on what constitutes real food. Real food is so important, and we need to make sure that we are nurturing and nourishing our children and young adults with the right kind of food so that they can think critically, because that's the other part of it. With low density lipoprotein, high cholesterol, we're going to be dealing with people that cannot function, and that the frontal cortex of their brain, which is underdeveloped and doesn't completely develop until age 25. We're going to be looking at a whole generation of children that cannot think critically, cannot think logically, will not have empathy for their fellow human beings, and will also make poor decisions because of not being able to think things through with the right kind of mindset. This is all from high cholesterol, and this is all preventable. So somebody like a young woman like this is just an example, and is just a case study for what is happening to young people under the age of 25, this is what's happening to them. And it can be prevented. But adults, parents, grandparents who are raising this next generation have to be more serious about what it means to eat real food and to avoid preventable chronic illnesses, because the facts don't lie. And the fact is that Black Americans are suffering to a greater extent, even twice as much as their white counterparts, for preventable chronic illnesses and the poor outcomes that come from that. Something to think about. What do you think? Do you think that she was okay with defying what her doctor's orders were as far as eating healthfully? What do you think about fast food and its effect on the next generation and the shorter lifespan? Do you think that that's a concern, or do you think that that's just hyped too much? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And remember too that I have a YouTube channel that's Havsom, where we'll continue the conversation there. We'll see you next time. Bye.